Hello again, everyone. It is the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. I think we're over 20 episodes now. Can you believe that?
No, I don't.
Somehow they have not caught on yet that we're taking these studios and using them for our own means.
Well, they're not being used for radio studios.
Yes, that's true. So might as well be using them for things too good for the radio. I am Mike Wimacher.
I'm Johnny Molson. Hello.
And we always like a funny name story. And this particular study I find very interesting. There's a new study out there that finds that people really do look like their name. We talk about that from time to time, like, that guy looks like a Biff, or that guy looks like a Charles, or whatever it may be. And so they did some science on this. They did a study. When observers are given a person's photograph and multiple choice name options, they choose the right name nearly 40% of the time, far above the 25% odds of correct random guessing. So, So they will show a picture of someone and be like, here's your four choices. John, Robert, Mike, and Mitch. And they 40% of the time they usually get it correct. And
isn't it strange when someone's name doesn't fit their face? And we hear that a lot too. It's like, that doesn't look like a Paul.
Yes, right. Well, I run into that a lot with the alter ego on the radio that I've had for years of the name Lars. Yeah. When people come out and say, and that usually happens more with voice, but this is by your face, like what you look like. Like you look like your name. The researchers theorize that people often identify with the social labeling, I should say, and expectations associated with their name, and their desire to conform becomes reflected in their facial appearance. So what they're saying is you strive to look like what your name is. Yeah. Is what they boil down to. The lead author explains, furthermore, we suggest this happens because of a process of self-fulfilling prophecy as we become what other people expect us to become because of our name.
So if you name a young girl Betty, she's going to be an old woman by the time she's 12, right?
Well, maybe, but the opposite could be true. Maybe she's like Betty and Veronica from the Archies. Maybe she looks like that. But if you name your kid Gertrude. She's going to end up living with cats and sewing the rest of her life.
Bertha will get fat.
Correct. There's no Bertha that is not going to be slim and slender. There's no
Norwegian swim model.
There's no Instagram influencer named Bertha on the internet. The effect was not affected by demographic factors. Predictors of different age and ethnicity displayed the same success rate. They said, still, there are limits to what researchers have labeled the Dorian Gray effect, named after the character. When predictors tried to guess the names of people in foreign nations, they were far less successful because of context, the names, and everything else. Yeah. But I just find it interesting that they're saying it's kind of twofold, right? Because of the multiple choice angle of it, but also we feel we have to live up to a certain name, which is just weird to me, but it does make sense. That's why we need that name triumvirate at hospitals, because you are dooming your kids if you name them something ridiculous.
How my grandfather Luigi didn't become a plumber, I'll never know.
Or Mario for that fact as well. So it is interesting. If you name your child Peach, they're going to be a princess. I mean, I guess that's what we go for. They're going to dress that way.
Speaking of names, and this appears to be, just by some of the wording here, in another country, maybe a European country, a young girl posts this on the internet about her own name. Okay. Basically, she hates her name, and her parents are pissed at her for hating her name.
That's always a tough line to walk, right?
But does she have a reason to hate her name?
Okay, lay it on me. Okay.
She said, I had 3 older siblings, John, Julia, and Jess. John and Julia are twins. Jess was about 3 years younger than them. Jess had a lot of medical issues when she was born and died 2 months before I was born.
Oh, that's sad. Oh, no. Please tell me she's not Jess, too.
My parents were distraught and named me Jess after my older dead sister.
Oh, you can't do that. That only works for dogs. Like my dad had Reggie and Reggie 2 because Reggie 1 got run over by a car. That's acceptable. You can name a dog Reggie 2. You can't name a person Jess 2.
I don't think so. Although some people brought up the question of, some people get named after their grandparents who are dead, or maybe
that's
like somebody,
a
generational thing, right? We're talking 60 days.
So let me ask you this, right? In this particular situation, okay? someone outside the family who doesn't know that Jess 1 died, and you introduce, hey, here's my new daughter, Jess. Well, didn't you already have a daughter, Jess? Well, Jess 1 died. Here's Jess. Try explaining that to individuals.
That's a fair question. Being named after the dead daughter is just the start of my problems. My older siblings refuse to call me by that name. They call me by my middle name or just don't refer to me at all.
Oh, boy. So the new Jess is also dead to them. The original Jess is dead. The new Jess also dead to the older siblings.
My parents are even weirder. They put photos of original Jess out on my birthday and look like they're about to cry whenever they say my name. They constantly bring up real Jess. If I, for example, get a bad grade, they will say, dead Jess wouldn't have gotten a bad grade.
How old was dead Jess when dead Jess died?
3. How do they know
how do they know how smart dead Jess would have been?
I don't know.
And what are they doing putting dead Jess photos out on new Jess's birthday? I can understand putting dead Jess photos on dead Jess would have been birthday, but not on live Jess's birthday. This is all confusing to me right now. I need string theory.
If I get sick, they'll say, you want to know about sick? You can't possibly be sick.
No. You can't do that. You can't compare.
A few days ago, my mother found a letter from my old school where they used the nickname Anna, which is my middle name, and my mother blew up. So I guess she goes to school and they say, Jess, yeah, but call me Anna. That's,
why wouldn't you do that?
Right. Of course you would.
Because what kid wants to explain that? Although I guess dead Jess never made it to school, but still. Anyway.
My mother blew up. She called me ungrateful and said that I was ruining my sister's image and good name and destroying her soul or something.
Then don't name me after my sister.
And I blew up on her too, explaining why I hated using the name Jess and how it was stupid naming me that, and I can't keep living in the shadow of a kid who died 17 years ago.
So she's 20. No, she's 17.
She's like 16-ish right
gotcha.
now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom, dad, family, and friends, even my own friends, are telling me that I'm the bad person here, and I shouldn't have gone off on her like that. But my siblings are saying I said what needed to be said,
John and Julia.
John and Julia.
Yeah, they should have helped out a little bit earlier.
I think so.
Right? When mom comes home with new baby, and they say, "Here's your sister." Now, granted, I don't know how much older those kids are, but shouldn't they go? Wait a second. How can this be my sister Jess when I just laid my sister Jess to rest? And think of that for a moment, Jess to rest.
And I don't know where this person is. Because she refers to mom as mum a lot.
Okay, maybe across the pond.
European thing. But there, some people did point out that there are some cultures where that's customary to give the next kid on the dead kid's name, which is a weird custom.
That is weird. I mean,
if it were the 1800s and you have 12 kids and 3 of them survive, I can see you maybe
naming them over and over again,
interchanging the names and going, well, we're just going to have to.
Yeah, or if you get to be
I'm out of names. I can't.
If you have as many kids as George Foreman did, you just name them all George. Or Georgina, and you're good to go. I think she has beef. That's fine. I mean, I would be upset by that as well.
And are you honoring dead Jess? I mean, wouldn't dead Jess want to be her own Jess?
That's what I'm saying. Like, part of me thinks if dead Jess hadn't died, well, that didn't make any sense, but you know what I'm saying. If the original Jess hadn't died, would you have named the new kid Jess? Right?
I think in your faux pas there, you just stumbled on something brilliant, though, is that new Jess should say, my name is Jess, but I go by dead Jess. And I bet that would stop it right away.
It would.
Yeah, call me dead Jess.
Flip the script, be like, I'm dead. I'm actually dead Jess.
And then the parents would throw their hands up and go,
whoa, what's going on? Yeah, I just don't, it's just unfair.
Yeah.
It's unfair. And I understand in a moment of, when you're going through grief, sometimes you're not thinking clearly. But once again, name triumvirate, right? They should have stepped in, the hospital should have stepped in and be like, wait a second. You were just here a couple months ago with a dead Jess. I don't think you should name this one Jess. It's legit beef.
Yeah. Do you think the parents maybe felt like, they didn't get all their warranty on first Jess? and said, you know what, the name hasn't been used yet.
Yeah,
I mean, really, she was only 3.
Yeah,
haven't
3.
really gotten.
Yeah, it's usually
haven't gotten my mileage out of Jess.
I was gonna say usually 3-year, 30,000-mile warranty. So you're right. I mean, they didn't get the full use of that. But I mean,
so this next Jess comes along 2 months later and says, "Let's just continue the Jess saga."
If you're going to name them after at least call them by the middle name, right?
Right.
That I think if you're going to do it in deference, that's fine. If you want to, it's still weird. But if you want to name them that, but call them by the middle name to continually compare them as well. You have this like unrealistic expectation of dead Jess. To your point of like, well, Jess wouldn't have been this, or you want to talk about sick, blah, 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 blah. It's like, how do you know?
And they're obviously doing something here with John, Julia, Jess. They could have, gotten a Jenny in there or anything else.
Genevieve, whatever. You could,
sure, that's a G, but that's all right.
I mean, it still sounds the same. J, G, whatever. I mean, you spell Jeff with a G, you can spell Genevieve with a J.
Stop trying to make yourself right, Donald Trump. Shut up. Jesus.
Look at me go.
Jesus. They could have named the kid Jesus.
That's exactly. That would have been much better. Than Jess, here's the thing. Jesus would have risen from the dead.
That's right.
So you wouldn't have to worry about that particular situation. So yeah, I think that girl has legitimate beef. That's just a weird thing that the parents did. Speaking of weird things that people do, we have a story out of, was it Kings Island, I believe?
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point.
In Cleveland, the Cleveland area.
Sandusky, Ohio is where Cedar Point is, right? I thought it was Kings Island, though, that this took place.
No.
It's okay.
Was it Cedar Point?
Look at me trumping things again. I'm pretty sure it was Cedar Point. No. I'm pretty sure it's Kings Island, I should say.
There's a little difference between Cleveland and Cincinnati.
They're both C's. I don't care.
I drew a magic marker line between the two. They're now one city.
Look at this. This front is going to hit right here. But no, continue. So it's Cedar Point.
So at Cedar Point, on the giant wheel.
All right.
One of those huge, like what they have up at Navy Pier. Just
they're big
Ferris wheel things.
What is your thoughts on Ferris wheels before we go any further? Is it one you enjoy, or is it something you feel like you have to do, or what's your thoughts on the Ferris wheel?
Relaxing. When you got to take a break.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's nice to get a bird's eye view, and it's
usually a little cooler up there.
Yeah, you need a little break from all the thrill rides. I have no problem with it. You get a nice little, however, 10, 15, depending on the size of the Ferris wheel, a nice little jaunt.
So that's not what happened for these 2 women and their 2 younger kids who were on the Ferris wheel, and they notice something funny going on in the next car.
All right. If the Ferris wheel car is a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
Exactly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, there was a couple having sex on the Ferris wheel.
Doing the old hibbity-dibbity, doing up and down while going up and down.
David Davis and Heather Johnson.
Of course, it's Heather Johnson. And by the way, as we go back to names, David Davis, seriously.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dave Davis.
Not
Shut
fair.
up.
Not fair. You're basically cursing him to a life of having sex on a Ferris wheel.
Pretty much. Double D over here, Dave Davis, doing some work on the Ferris wheel. Anyway, so continue.
And so this is from the police report. Police officer says, I asked them if they were having intercourse on the ride, and they said no. Heather said, I had shorts on under my dress. I dropped my cigarettes. I bent over to pick them up, and David Davis helped me. That's all.
Okay. Let me just say that is too stereotypical for the type of people that would be doing sex on a giant Ferris wheel of I dropped my cigarettes. Yeah. Why are your cigarettes making an appearance inside the theme park? It's not carte blanche to go ahead and smoke them while you got them while you're up in the Ferris wheel.
And going back to our first story, you now know what David and Heather look like, right? You can now get a very clear picture.
Yes. If you showed the mugshot and be like, we're going to throw 4 mugshots up here. Who are the people that had sex in the Ferris wheel? Yeah. You immediately know right away.
Oh, there's Dave and Heather.
Yeah.
The Ferris wheel sex people.
They're probably at the state fair right now.
So she said, I had shorts on and I dropped my cigarettes.
And David, being such the nice gentleman he is, old David Davis helped me pick up my cigarettes.
So the officer then talked to the witnesses Officer says, when I asked the girls what happened, one of the girls spoke up and said she saw the adults in the cart above. And these are these like gondola.
Yeah,
type.
they're bigger because
yeah,
of giant. But yeah. Try to do that in just like the bucket seat one. Not going to work.
I asked the girl what happened, and she spoke up and stated she saw the adults in the cart above having sex. She saw the woman on her hands and knees and saw the man behind her.
At least, hey, to their credit, David Davis and Miss Johnston over there, at least they were kneeling down, right? Hands and knees, so they're trying to not be seen. It seems like maybe.
And I asked them, did you see any of the genitals? And exactly what you want an officer saying to your kid.
Yes. Hello. And did you see some genitals?
And they said, yes. I saw the woman's bare butt and the man's penis. They further said they could clearly see the man's penis.
So this guy thinks he's taking it as a compliment now.
Yeah.
You can clearly see my junk from far away on the giant wheel.
They even said that they could feel the cart shaking. It was messing up the whole ride, and could see both male and female moving back and forth. The group said that the couple knew that they were watching and started laughing.
I don't know. It's beyond my comprehension of. I would have stage fright. I could not do this, right? I know some people like the danger aspect of it, but I could not even get into said mood knowing that others, let alone start laughing and still going on and carrying on with the adventure.
I spoke to the couple again. David denied and said nothing happened, and he said, you know, kids know what sex is, so they're probably just making it up. And I asked David if he was insinuating that girls seeing him wasn't a big deal because they should know what sex is. He stated, that's not what I meant.
Kids are going to learn it anywhere, man.
David then acknowledged Heather might have, shaken her ass a little bit when she bent over to pick up her cigarettes.
And, I can't resist when Heather shakes that stuff.
Eventually, the couple did admit they were engaged in sexual intercourse. I advised them they were going to be arrested for public indecency and transported to the Erie County Jail. The females completed witness statements and are attached herewith. And so there's 2 adult women and 2 children who saw this. So now you've got sexual misconduct with a minor.
Oh God!
And they are now sitting in the jail. But you're right. It's interesting that they were proud enough to do it, but not claim it.
Correct. Yeah, they didn't stop. They started laughing, but they're like, "Oh, that wasn't what happened." And I dropped my cigarettes, and he helped me. Just so happened, whenever anyone drops anything, I immediately then go, "Well, my penis needs to be out to help you pick that up."
And so you're sitting in a gondola, you drop your cigarettes, you just kind of lean and pick them up and put them back where they came from.
Correct.
You don't stand up, shake your ass,
get
bend
over and then
ask for help.
Yes.
No, let me help you get the pack of cigarettes. I don't want you to throw your back out.
And I think you brought up a great point. We all know exactly what they look like.
Oh, yeah.
Right. We all have a vision in our mind of what Heather and David look like. And by the way, yeah, just don't. It's not just.
You sound like you're about to say something else there, but you censored yourself.
Well, because I realized that she was Heather Johnson. I thought that her first name in my mind was a J, so I was like, oh, the HJ.
Right.
And so I was just like, yeah, the HJ going on there with a double D's. It's a little HJ with the double D's.
Good for you.
So that's what it was there. Speaking of the doing of the hibbity dibbity. Johnny, I don't know if you are a subscriber to Discovery Plus, which will be folded into HBO Max, which makes sense for this next show that's going to be debuting this weekend on Discovery Plus, a show simply titled Good Sex.
Okay.
And in Good Sex, they challenge couples to film their most intimate moments and then review them with a coach to see where they went wrong. When did sex become like game tape? So the whole premise of the show is these couples are having issues in the bedroom, right? Maybe someone doesn't have as good a libido. Someone's having trouble getting to the promised land. Someone's having trouble, not like David Davis there, where they're having trouble getting excited enough for the act to transpire. So what this show is asking the couple to do is to record themselves and then go on a streaming service with a sex coach to break down film.
It's been a while for me, Mike. How wrong can you get sex?
I'm pretty sure you can get it kind of wrong.
Really?
Yeah, I think you can get it wrong.
Okay.
I don't know if to the extent of which you need a game tape breakdown, or, I mean, you may need that, but I don't know if you need to do that in front of an entire streaming audience. But Caitlin V. Neal, who goes just by Caitlin V., is at the heart of the show. She is a sex coach in her 30s. She says, when we are doing talk-based coaching sessions, I'm asking people to describe in words something that's far beyond our ability to articulate a sexual encounter. Often because people don't have a shared baseline understanding, talking pales in comparison to being able to see that on video. Just talking about the problems aren't going to fix it.
But to your point of the Ferris wheel, even knowing that there's a camera there changes the dynamic, doesn't it?
Correct. Right? Don't you put on your best performance then? Are you really helping things? You're going to try your best. Through her workday, she observes as she meets with a range of clients who come to her for help, and we talked about the different issues. Before meeting clients, they're asked to set up cameras in their bedrooms and have sex. Only then can the work really begin. But once again, the idea of filming yourself doing that is much, much more exotic than the actual rewatching of it, right? In theory, it seems like a good idea, but then when you rewatch it, you go, ugh, I don't know. I think that almost, instead of helping the problems, I think it may make people not want to ever do it again once they see what's going on.
Kudos to the modern day Larry Flint for making this documentary under the guise that it's science and helpful.
Correct. Very correct.
Why are you watching this? Other than just for the voyeuristic thrill of it.
Well,
hoping you're getting it's like that show Naked and Afraid. You're hoping at some point something will slip out of the blur,
so you can see the boob, so you can see what's going on in the gondola above you. For Caitlin, she says watching other people's sex tapes doesn't feel weird or invasive. It's about doing her job more thoroughly, not to mention more efficiently. She says, my goal is to find a neutral and compassionate base from which to receive information from them. I want people left with a sense that whatever they're going through in their own intimate lives is normal and there is hope. It's okay to seek help.
So Caitlin, the sex therapist, since we're picturing what names look like, Caitlin, the sex therapist, is 58.
No, she's in her 30s.
Oh, she's in her 30s. All right.
Yeah. Caitlin V, man. Caitlin V. So just to give people an idea, if you want to watch this, one particular episode involves Wisconsin couple Erica and Thomas. They came to Caitlin because Erica was not able to reach the promised land during the hibbity-dibbity with Thomas.
Didn't ring the bell.
They said when they looked over the tapes, Thomas observed himself and commented, I need to slow down. Caitlin also noted that within the first few minutes, Erica was, quote, moaning full volume, full force. And I just know that has to be part of her performance for her and not actually response to what's happening.
Wow. So he picked up. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Caitlin V goes, there's no way that it gets there that fast. Caitlin might not have seen the issue if she only had them describe their sex lives using words. Sure. She said since Erica might not have admitted that her moans were fake. So through their session, Erica realized she was still grappling with issues of sexual shame and repression rooted in her strict church upbringing. To help her, she was given homework to examine herself in a mirror in order to become more comfortable with her own sexuality. I still don't know if this is a show that needs to actually be, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, this is something you show in the middle of the night on Cinemax.
It really is. Good sex. It's not I love how it's on Discovery Plus, to your point, under the guise of, this is actually really scientific stuff we got going on here. I don't think you need to see Erica and Thomas's, even blurred out. I don't know if I need to see you because it's night vision. It's like weird. It's going to be blurred.
Got those weird laser eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, what am I watching? Is that a wolf attacking something? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, and if you're in a situation, I'm trying to imagine what possible consolation prize this couple gets for going through this, because this is a very personal thing. There's nothing more personal than what goes on when the lights are out in the bedroom, and now you're reaching out for help. But some sort of crazy compensation here.
You got to have something. Well, I mean, I think it's basically going up against Netflix has Build a Sex Room. Have you seen that show as well? So Discovery Plus is like, oh, we'll one-up you. We'll actually show a sex tape, but we'll blur it out and then give pointers on what exactly went right or wrong there. Come on, Discovery Plus. Seriously. I know you're going to HBO Max, but, seriously.
Discovery XXX, where it's not blurred out.
You know there's going to be one.
So.
Eventually there's going to be that, and you can find that in the dark recesses of the internet. And finally, on the Too Good for Radio podcast, we leave you with a heartwarming story.
It's about time.
Let me introduce you to, I don't know if I can say this after the good sex, Marguerite Peg Collar. She is a 99-year-old Pennsylvania woman who just got to meet her 100th great-grandchild.
No kidding.
Think about that for a moment.
100 great-grandchildren.
She is 99 and 100 great-grandchildren. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event for her. She's also known as grandmom to Christine Stokes Balster and her husband Patrick Balster. What? Really? Peg's got Balsters as... who was absolutely ecstatic to greet baby Collar William Balster after his birth on August 4th. We went to Grandmom's, introduced her to Collar, who was named after the family name, Stokes Balster of Lafayette Hill. Oh, good morning. Stokes Balster. Anyway, long story short, it all goes back to old Peg had 11...
If there are kids in the car right now, rewind this podcast and start it over because you shouldn't be listening at this point.
Right, exactly. You should have cut off long ago when David Davis helped old Heather Johnson with her cigarettes. Yeah. That should have stopped right there. So old Peg had 11 kids. All right, let's see. Here's the math, how we got to 100 great-grandchildren. So Peg had 11 kids, all right? Those 11 kids then spawned 56 grandchildren.
Okay.
So that's a little over 5 a kid from 11 to 5, and then the 56 grandchildren have now spawned the 100 great-grandchildren. So at least they're slowing down in the productivity. It went from 11 to 56, and the 56 have spawned 100. So they're slowing down a bit.
Yeah, but we're also leaving out. So there's 100 great grandchildren.
Correct.
There's 56 grandchildren.
Correct.
And there's 11 kids.
Yeah. Yes.
So now we're at about two. What are we at? 267.
11 to 56 to 100. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know math, and math is not part of my purview that I'm real good at. But you're 156, then you have 167 people spawned just from her.
Right. I guess where I'm going to is you're basically sending out a birthday card every other day.
You really are. How does she
and do you have to?
How does she keep... normally you make fun of grandmas for giving you a $5 check. If she gives every grandkid a $5 check, that's like $250-some bucks that she's shelling out every year.
Yeah, that's bankrupt.
She can't be giving every great grandkid a check either.
She's not even obligated to remember their names.
How many great grandkids does she have? Is that what I want to know? There's got to be a couple of great grandkids, right? Out of the 100 great grandkids, some of those have to have kids. To get to the great grandkids.
If she doesn't check out.
That's just it's just boggling my mind still that one couple spawned 2 generations down the line, hundreds of relatives.
Yeah. Top that, Heather Johnson.
Yeah, exactly.
You got some catching up to do.
You got a lot of Ferris wheel sex to have before you can get to Peg Collar and the rest of the Balsters. Oh, fantastic names there. By the way, Stokes Balster is a guy I could tell what they look like, too.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Stokes Balster. I'm in the local country club here. Yeah, Happy to go see Grandmom.
He'll be on Discovery Plus before you know it.
Good sex with Stokes Balster and Peg Collar as your host.
See, I would listen to that podcast.
That would be a podcast. You know what that podcast would be? Mm-hmm. It would be Too Good for Radio.
Of course it would be.
Thank you for joining us here.
And it all comes full circle.
Yes, it really does. Full circle with HJ and Double D. We will see you next week.